Hey everyone, welcome back to Lunar Arcade. Today we're taking a look at The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky First Chapter, the remake of the very first game in the beloved Trails series. Now I want to be clear up front, this isn't a full review. I'm still making my way through the game myself, but after spending some time with it already, I wanted to sit down and talk about it because honestly, it's been impressive enough that I think a lot of people should have this game on their radar. So in this video, we're going to go over the story setup, the graphics and presentation improvements, gameplay changes, quality of life additions, and the new battle system, so you can get a good idea of what this remake is bringing to the table. And if you enjoy JRPGs, game overviews like this, make sure you subscribe to Lunar Arcade and check out the other videos on the channel where we cover more RPGs, hidden gems, and upcoming games you should know about. Alright, let's jump in. At its core, Trails in the Sky First Chapter follows two young heroes, Estelle Bright and Joshua Bright, who are training to become bracers, members of an organization that helps maintain peace and stability across the land. Their journey takes place in the kingdom of Liberl, and what starts out as a fairly simple coming-of-age adventure slowly unfolds into something much larger involving political intrigue, mysterious technology, and deeper secrets surrounding the world itself. One of the things that the Trails series is famous for is its world building. NPCs change their dialogue as the story progresses, towns evolve over time, and even minor characters feel like they have their own lives going on. And if you've played the other games in the series, you already know that the story eventually grows into something massive that spans multiple arcs. But even on its own, First Chapter is one of the most beloved JRPG stories out there. Even though the series is broken up into arcs, all of these arcs all connect to the same storyline, so you're going to have crossovers with characters from other entries showing up at certain points in the game. Sometimes they're even playable. The Trails series does something no other RPG has ever dared. It's like playing through a 4-volume epic. Think Harry Potter, but you're living inside the pages of global history. Each volume is a massive story arc anchored to a different region, the Kingdom of Liberl, the city-state of Crossbell, the Erebonian Empire, and the Republic of Calvard. To see the full picture, you have to witness the world shift through each of these different perspectives. Each iteration is not just a sequel, it's a grand design where every arc has its place. Another thing that immediately stands out in this remake is the addition of full voice acting. The original didn't include voice acting at all, so hearing these characters fully brought to life here is a huge improvement. There actually was voice acting added later in the Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky Evolution version on the PS Vita, but that version only included Japanese voices. Now we get a full English voice cast in the remake, and honestly the performances are really good. One voice actor in particular that stood out to me was Johnny Young Bosch, who voices Joshua.
Estelle, why did you rush in here alone?
He's incredibly talented and has voiced a huge number of major characters across anime and games, and the moment I heard Joshua speak, I immediately recognized the voice. If you're an anime fan, you might recognize him as Vash the Stampede from Trigun.
You weren't listening, were you?
Got any more water?
I would, but you drank it all.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So hearing him bring Joshua to life here is honestly fantastic, and the rest of the cast does a great job as well.
Alright, ready Joshua?
Another thing that helps bring the world to life is hearing NPCs occasionally speak out loud as you pass them. It's another subtle improvement, but it helps make town feel more alive.
Hey, Estelle and Joshua. Training at the guild again?
Morning! Yep, and today's the last day.
Only if we pass. We've got to go, Estelle. We can't be late.
One of the biggest differences immediately noticeable in this remake is the graphical overhaul. Compared to the original Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, the difference is night and day. The environments are now fully realized in modern 3D with dramatically improved lighting, textures, and environmental detail. Some of the visual polish here goes beyond what we saw in several later entries in the series. It actually feels closer in visual quality to the more modern titles like Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak, which is pretty impressive considering this is technically a remake of one of the earliest games in the franchise. But what really stands out isn't just the graphics themselves, it's the attention to detail. Characters feel like they have real weight when moving around environments, animations are smoother, and little touches really stand out. For example, when you walk through doors on the PlayStation 5, you can actually feel a subtle vibration through the controller as the door opens. It's a tiny thing, but details like that make the world feel much more tactile, and the world itself feels more seamless. In the original game, you would frequently transition between areas with loading screens, but here, many of those transitions are now completely seamless. You can run from an outdoor region straight into a city with no loading screen at all, and it's very impressive. Another feature that I absolutely love is the new chat bubble indicator system. In classic Trails fashion, there are tons of NPCs to talk to, and their dialogue changes constantly as the story progresses. In the original games, it could be difficult to keep track of who still had something new to say. Now, when you approach characters, you'll see a bright chat bubble indicator above them if they have dialogue you haven't seen yet. Once you've talked to them and they've said everything they currently have to say, the bubble turns gray. It's such a simple quality of life feature, but for a series that encourages talking to literally everyone, it's honestly a godsend. I really hope other RPGs start adopting systems like this. Another fun addition that fans of the newer games will appreciate is costume customization. Starting with the Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel series, characters could equip alternate outfits, and that feature returns here. If you pre-order the game, you even get access to Estelle and Joshua's original costumes from the classic version. It's a cool nostalgic touch. For example, Estelle's hair in the remake leans more towards a brighter orange, but her classic costume brings back the more brown tone look from the original game. Joshua's design also shifts slightly. In the story, his hair is described as black, but in the remake, it's more of a dark blue. But the classic costume brings it closer to that original look, making his hair actually black and making his armor look more like the original. What I really like is that when characters speak in dialogue scenes, you can actually see their equipped costume reflected in the portrait window, which adds a really nice level of polish. Now let's talk about one of the biggest gameplay changes. Combat now blends real-time action with classic turn-based combat. This system builds on what we saw in Trails Through Daybreak, but it feels even more refined here. You can fight weaker enemies entirely in action combat if you want, dodging attacks and using crafts in real time, but for tougher enemies, you can instantly switch to turn-based combat with the press of a button, and the transition is incredibly smooth. If you manage to stun enemies during action combat, switching to turn-based mode lets you start the battle with the advantage, even triggering powerful team attacks. Another fantastic detail is how the game now visually represents orbal magic. In the original games, characters were said to be using orbal devices to cast magic, but you never actually saw it. Now, when the characters prepare spells, they physically hold their orbment device in their hand, making it clear how the magic is being cast. And this is what I mean by detail. All these little details add up, and as a fan of the series, I am so happy to see them here. The remake also introduces several excellent quality of life features. You can now avoid enemies more easily, which is great if you want to explore without constantly triggering battles. There's also high speed mode, which lets you speed up traversal and grinding by holding the shoulder buttons, something longtime Trails fans will definitely appreciate. And even the loading screens are a nostalgic touch, showing the original character sprites running across the screen, which is a really fun nod to the classic version of the game. Another thing I love is how the game does a really good job of explaining the mechanics of the world. Orbment devices, terminology, sepith, quartz, what does that mean? Explaining all of these things with pictures. It's clear the developers really wanted to modernize the experience while respecting the original game. So while this isn't my full review yet, I can say this. So far, the Trails in the Sky First Chapter Remake feels fantastic. The improvements to the visuals, the combat system, world design, and quality of life features all make it feel like the definitive way to experience this classic story. And if the rest of the game continues at the level of quality I've seen so far, this could easily be another 10 out of 10 JRPG. And while I want to give it a 10 out of 10 right now, I still want to play the full game just to see all the differences so I can let you guys know about it. So should you buy this game? Absolutely. 200% yes. If you enjoyed this overview, make sure to subscribe to Lunar Arcade for more JRPG coverage, reviews, and hidden gems. I'll also be doing a full review once I finish the game, so keep an eye out for that. Right now I'm working my way through the Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 4, so there's plenty of more Trails content coming soon. Be sure to watch my game review playlist so you can check out the other reviews I've done, because there are some awesome games in there. Thanks for watching. This is Lunar, signing off.